Rape allegations by Busola Dakolo, wife of singer Timi Dakolo, against popular pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo of Koza Church has reignited the conversation about the rising culture of sexual violence against women and justice for victims of such crimes. While many Nigerians are divided on who to believe in this saga, there is a general call for the matter to be settled in court. What are the chances that Busola Dakolo and other victims of sexual violence, especially rape, have in getting a successful prosecution?
I honestly don't think she will. She can go to court. Anybody can complain. She can complain to the police because rape is a crime against the state and it is the state that prosecutes. So she can lodge a complaint to the police and the police can file the action in court. But I don't think it's something that will bring any fruit. You may not be able to prove it. So it will be exercise in futility and embarrassment, because for you to be able to establish that, there are elements you must establish to prove the case of rape, for example. You have to in our laws here, you have to establish there was actual penetration. You have to establish that it was against her will, and you have to establish that her consent was not, taken. This is without prejudice to the items you will have to use to then prove it, because you don't just say rape on the through media, and then it is deemed as being established.
Kwara State Ilorin is under the Victorian law, and that means that the legal system there requires two things. For you to properly prosecute a charge offense of rape or a charge of rape, you've got to have two limbs. The first one is that you must either catch the person indirectly in the act, or immediately it's done, you have to provide test kits to show that this person has committed this thing or this thing has actually happened. And looking at it 19, 20 years ago, she didn't report immediately. And even if she did, it wasn't to the law enforcement agencies. And then secondly, on the other limb, you find out that there was I'm not sure she gathered evidence in terms of using rape kits to gather any form of evidence. And in the absence of that evidence, even if there were evidence, how long can you preserve such an evidence? So it must have probably been tampered with and all that, and so it can also be contested in courts. So these are the kind of challenges that she will be facing in courts if she decides to take the matter further than this.
Meanwhile, Pastor Fatoyinbo has threatened the possibility of suing Busola Dakolo and others involved for defamation. Could he be successful?
Well, if he has to establish a defamation of character, then he will have to establish before the court that what she said through the media has lowered his reputation before the eyes of the right-thinking members of the society. And of course, he has a reputation as a pastor. So, and that reputation is global. It's not just national, because he's also a pastor that travels abroad. So there is a good case for him to go to court if he wants to say he's going to fight for his reputation. But then what he has to establish are these things I have said. And but then you have to look at it from the other side, because the justification for defamation is fair comment, truth, and fair comment, and truth. Justification, fair comment, and truth, right? So justification means what she said in the light of the circumstances is justified. If he goes to court and then more women start coming out to give their own encounter, they are not testifying to establish rape. They are testifying to give credence to what she said. Then it becomes justifiable in the circumstance, and that means his case will fall. If he goes to court and then what she said, she can also establish that there are occasions where 1, 2, 3, 4 persons have said in the past, and he didn't even go to court. Then that may be classified as fair comment. And then the third one, which is the truth, if he goes to court and she's able to establish that in fact what she said actually happened, then it becomes true. Either of these three defenses, if she is able to establish any of them, then his case falls.
So the best thing he can do is to wait until there is a court judgment, a pronouncement, giving him a clean bill of slates.
There are reports that more women have made similar complaints of sexual abuse by Pastor Fatoyinbo. Some organizations have even threatened to bring these matters to court. If they do, what are their chances of getting justice?
Propensity to commit the crime. So if 10 people have come out to say this man has done this and they can prove, right? So you can convince the judge in court to say this man has a high propensity to commit this offense. And because he has done this to this person, he has done this to that person, he has done this to that person, the judge can now infer, or the court can infer, that this person, because he has done this to these people, he's capable of doing this. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the higher the propensity to commit a crime, the more the person can go to jail for that crime, even if there is no evidence to corroborate that the person did this particular one that brought him to court. So the more witnesses you have, the higher the tendency for a conviction.
Many have asked why Busola Dakolo and many others are choosing to come out on social media rather than going to the court to seek justice.
So social media gives people the opportunity to vent their pent-up feelings that they previously couldn't. And it is not just, it could not be the ideal place to go, because the ideal place to go and report crimes should be the courts or police and all of that. But because of the power that it has, people tend to are swayed to go there, and it's like the ground zero of their protest. They go there and it takes on from there. So many times you see people go on social media and they get lawyers to represent them just because of going there. You understand? And then some people go there and get funding. The crowdsource for things, the projects they want to carry out. So actually, it's a good place to go to in a society like ours, where the infrastructure, both physical and service infrastructure, is derelict. It's not working very well. It's dysfunctional.
So there are two ways to get justice all over the world, especially when it has to do with things like this. And one way is to either go to court, and the other way is to go to court of public opinion. And I think this is where, court of public opinion doesn't necessarily give you the kind of justice that you want, which is retributive or even restorative. So what they're doing now, or what I see that's happening now, it's more or less saying that people are going to the court of public opinion to get justice. And to a large extent, I think she has succeeded, because first off, Fatoyinbo wouldn't step down or step aside ordinarily if this didn't come up. He wouldn't see, people, members of his church who I interact with, who were in church on that day, they said he didn't have that kind of aura of that kind of pomposity that he usually displays, or confidence that he usually displays on a good day, and he affected him. He also said so, that he has affected him. So these are the kind of things that you can get in court of public opinion, because it has to do with your image, it's got to do with your reputation, it's got to do with your brand and all that. So it also helps not just the victim in itself, it also helps to prevent other people from having to go through this, because there's so much of it, there's so much education going on out there. People and parents now know that a pastor, just because he's wearing a white collar, does not make him a saint, right? People now know that a lot of activities or criminal activities happen in church, and violation of women also happen in church. So there's an education currently going on out there.
Rape in Nigeria, and perhaps world over, is regarded as one of the most underreported crimes. This is mostly because of the stigma and the difficulties of proving it in court. So how can rape victims help ensure they get justice?
In practice, with what we have, practically speaking, the first thing you need to do is to run out. I know it might be very difficult for people to immediately come out because of shame, because of the kind of violation, the shame, stigma, and all that comes with, or the psychological trauma. So it is important to still summon courage to first of all run to the police and make your complaint. When you go to the police will be the ones to get you a doctor in most cases, or they will escort you to the hospital where tests will be conducted to bring out the evidence that will be needed in terms of prosecuting this matter.
Busola Dakolo's rape allegations has become the top trending topic in Nigeria, leading to protests against rape and violence against women. It also seems to have encouraged more people to speak up. However, many look on to see if this case will make it to the courts, and once there, if justice will be served.